Christina is asking, if pride is a sin, how could it have been part of Lucifer's nature, getting him to fall from heaven?
Cool. And you could be right. The way I see pride, though, is pride in of itself is not the sin, but more like a symptom of sin. Or if it is really entertained, indulged, then maybe that becomes the sin, which I do believe Satan did. And we can take a look at Ezekiel 28:14, starting there. And let me switch to NKJV. And it says,
pointing to you because I was trying to point to you because I was trying to say I think you should answer this.
So Ezekiel 28:14 says, "You were the anointed cherub who covers, or the covering cherub. I, God, established you. You were on the holy mountain of God. You walked back and forth in the midst of the fiery stones." So here God's describing Satan, and he was as close to God as anybody could get. And he was a covering cherub. That's like, we understand that to be the highest position an angel could have. Again, in terms of proximity, even closest to God. And then the next verse 15, it says, "You were perfect in all your ways from the day you were created, till iniquity was found in you." So God made him perfect, and then one day, now there was iniquity in him. And I think in this context, God is telling us he was in such a high and lofty position. He had so much going for him that, I think it's suggesting there that pride eventually got in the way of Satan. If we switch over now to Isaiah chapter 14, start at Isaiah, let's say 14, starting at verse 12. It says, let me also switch over to NKJV. I'm used to these verses in the King James. So it says, "How fallen from heaven, O Lucifer, son of the morning, how you are cut down to the ground, you who are weakened the nations. For you have said in your heart, I will ascend to heaven. I will exalt my throne above the stars of God. I will sit on the mount of the congregation, on the farthest sides of the north. I will ascend above the heights of the clouds. I will be like the Most High." I mean, all of this, and all this more or less suggesting I'm going to be bigger, better, more powerful than God. I can't describe this any other way than the most ridiculous pride there ever is and ever will be. Mm-hmm. I guess our only consolation is Isaiah 14:15, next verse. "Yet you shall be brought down to Sheol, to the lowest depths of the pit." God someday will bring an end to Satan, will kill him, destroy him, and there'll be no more rebellion. But pride is truly, I say, at the heart of the fall of Satan and what continues to perpetuate his rebellion against God, just because he wanted to be God.
Mm-hmm. Did you have anything else to add to that one, Tina?
I mean, I totally agree. I think that's, definitely spot on. And I think, when it comes to, you're flat out saying, my sister, that, pride is a sin, and it is. And it's kind of weird to think like, Lucifer lived in the presence of a holy God, and he was perfect. He didn't have any sin. So how did sin come out of, perfection or a lack of sin? And, I think the thing that we have to remember is it started in the mind and in the heart. And, he allowed himself to start thinking things that maybe, he started to focus on self instead of focusing on God. And I think that that's such an important thing that we have to keep in mind as God's people, that the closer we get to God, that we don't start thinking like, oh, well, look how great I am, or holy I am, or is there anything, how, special or whatever about myself, but rather we have to keep our eyes fixed on Jesus and his goodness and his mercy and love. And I think that's the best cure for any pride that we have, because then we remember, I am completely dependent on God for my life, for every breath I take, for everything I have. And so, that would be my only 2 cents, thinking about that, as far as, basically being careful not to fall down that same path. Because I think, it's very easy to do that in some way. Maybe not exactly the way the devil did, but, the devil tempts us in different ways to think that we're something when we're really nothing. There's no good thing in us. Anything good in us is from God. So
Yeah.